Okay, you're good to go, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So welcome to members of the committee and the public, those who might be watching on YouTube, to the January 18th edition of the South Glengarry Environment Committee. So if I could, oh, sorry, that's making noises. I better turn that off. So one thing I wanted to mention just quickly before we got to the formal part of the agenda is that last night at council, our committee minutes were on the agenda, and I pulled them so that we could have a chance to briefly speak about them. And the mayor at that time conveyed, his appreciation and his gratitude for the work that our committee is doing. And, there's some discussion of the minutes and the recommendations that were in it. And so I just wanted to make sure that you're all, if you don't get a chance to watch the council meetings, that just to be aware that council is aware of the work we're doing and is very appreciative of it as well. So thank you. And also thank you from me as well. So now in terms of the agenda, I assume everyone got the package that Ms. Lebrun would have sent out earlier. So when it comes to the agenda, if everyone had a chance to take a look at it, does anyone want to move to approve the agenda, or are there any additions or? Not seeing any. Okay.
Look good from my side.
Okay, great. So if I could have someone move to approve the agenda.
I'll move it.
So moved by Aiden, seconded by Angie. Anyone opposed? No? Okay, perfect. So the agenda is approved. Then the minutes. So these would be the minutes from November 23rd meeting. I did have a chance to look at them. They looked good to me. Anyone else? Any? Andy,
yeah, I would just suggest after Lee's name, maybe put Future Climate Leaders River Institute. Just there's nothing after his name, so people will know what organization he was with.
Sure, that makes sense. Is that so? Is it Crystal? Are you still? You're still going to continue doing our minutes for us?
Yeah, I'm just in the background taking.
Okay, no, that's okay. That's great. Thank you. I just want to double check, and I'm assuming you caught that to update the title for title and organization for Lee Theodore. Thanks, Angie, for pointing that out. Okay. So unless there's anything else, if I could get a motion to approve the minutes as amended. So Colleen, moved by Colleen, seconded by Angie. Anyone opposed? Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Business arising from the minutes. So one item I thought, and certainly there can be others if folks would like from the minutes. I thought it might be an opportunity now to, if there was any thoughts that came from David Kuhn's excellent presentation from the city of Cornwall about their landfill site and all the diversion activities that they've implemented there in the city of Cornwall. I was definitely impressed by the presentation, and there was a lot of really good information in it. Information that I've used a few times since, like in terms of the diversion rate that he shared with us, and just how. And now I'm looking for the number right now, but it was gosh, and of course now I'm not going to grab it.
Sorry,
Angie, go ahead.
Sorry, there's a lag, so I wasn't sure if you could see me or hear me. Did you get the updated numbers from him for 2021?
I believe that Sarah had reached out. I didn't know if Sarah was, and I think she got some info. I didn't know if she wanted to share that at this point, or if if that might be later on when we talk about maybe when we talk about the implementation of the bag limits, maybe we could talk about that then. So were there any questions or comments that folks wanted to talk about from the presentation? Oh, sorry, now I found the number I was looking for, that their recycling efficiency was 97.46%, which is really impressive in terms of like how much that we send to, that goes there for recycling actually goes to recycling, because there seems to be a lot of, and I've had these comments a few times over the last couple of weeks, this impression that when it comes to recycling, that 30%, this is a number that people were floating, it's kept repeated a few times, that 30% of what goes to recycling actually goes to landfill. And it's really nice to be able to have that data from our local, our local recycling center, that is not, that's not the case. Well, go ahead, Colleen.
Yeah, I thought it was a great presentation, and it was interesting to see like how much they're doing at the landfill itself. I've never been to our landfills, like the South Glengarry ones yet, so it'd be interesting to get a tour of those. I think that was on our update to do that this year. So I think maybe when we actually go and see the landfill, we might be able to get some better ideas as to what could be done there, kind of like what the city is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Now that we've seen this model, when we get a chance, hopefully sooner rather than later, when we get a chance to visit our own, we'll have some more context on some ideas on how it might potentially be, made even better.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I haven't, apart from I've dropped off e-waste at our North Lancaster landfill. I can't say that I've really been beyond that within our own landfill. Aiden or Angie, did you have any?
I'd have to agree. I haven't been either. I soil sampled near it one time, drove down the road.
Oh, did you? Okay.
About as close as I got.
Yeah, I dropped off stuff after I bought my house, and the person left tons of stuff by the road that wasn't being picked up. So I was there about 15 years ago, the North Lancaster one. But I do drive by it a lot and see a lot of stuff left at the end of the road, at the entrance.
Okay. Well, then I think definitely our idea about going to have a visit really makes sense, so that we all get that firsthand knowledge experience of it. But back on the Cornwall one, I know that one thing that was stuck, and I know we talked about it last time, is just making sure that our residents are aware of the services that they have access to through the Cornwall landfill, like in terms of dropping off hazardous waste. Yeah, and actually, unless someone else had a question, one I had a resident reach out to me about hazardous waste, about the rapid antigen tests. So I don't know if that's something that anyone in this group would have any information on whether those rapid antigen tests are considered regular waste or hazardous waste.
I haven't even seen what one looks like, so I'm not even sure what it comprises of.
Okay.
I believe it's considered medical waste. So they're meant to go in the biohazard bags that you can get at the pharmacy or from your, maybe, yeah, I'm not sure where exactly you can get them, but I think that's the proper way to dispose it.
Okay, all right. Well, that might be, maybe that's a takeaway that we should double check on, because yeah, it was a good question. The person came to me and I was like, I honestly don't know the answer to that.
I'm sure lots are going into the landfill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would expect so. So maybe if but like like myself, I wouldn't have known any better. So if we do get some information, I'm sure some folks will definitely try to do the right thing with them.
Staff can look into that. I think that's a really good point that was brought up for sure.
Okay, thank you, Crystal. Okay, all right. Well, if no one else has any other comments about the Cornwall presentation specifically, we can move on to the next item. It's funny, we don't have a presentation this time. We've been graced with having presentations at every, it seems like at every meeting. We don't have one this time. So that would bring us then to, I know, it's not your responsibility, Angie, but I do appreciate, I'm sure the others appreciate that you find us good speakers.
I can find more. I just didn't want you guys to get bored with like presentations all the time, overwhelmed.
No, yeah. No, that's fair. We probably shouldn't have one every single time, but still, but do know that they are appreciated, and I notice when they're not there. So I guess then we would move on to the next one, which is the ongoing projects update. So I guess that's where I'll pass it over to Sarah then.
Thank you. So we have two, I made my info report and I put ongoing project updates and new business on one report. I hope that's okay for the committee. In terms of ongoing project updates, first we have our food cycler pilot. We met with Food Cycler in early December, shortly after our last meeting, to discuss the feedback. And we were able to attach some of the, let's say, sanitized results to this package, page 22 to 58. So it removes all personal information. There were 3 key takeaways from speaking with Food Cycler and from going through the results. Overall, very positive. We had a very high respondent rate, over 80%, I believe, which Food Cycler said was, I believe we were their best in terms of responding to the survey. So that's a positive. Mm-hmm. The main results were that through the pilot, 260 kilograms of food waste was diverted averaged out per year per the 100 participants. So if you extrapolated that up, it would be quite a bit of waste that would be diverted from our landfills. People use their food cycler about 5 cycles per week, and likely not unexpected, but the feedback suggested that food cyclers are more appropriate for an urban area where people don't have compost bins and the such. And then again, of the 100 participants who responded, 95% said that they would continue to use their device beyond the pilot. So it was a really good conversation, and I'm not sure if anyone had an opportunity to look through the expanded results, but if there were any questions or anything that the committee would like to speak about in those, page 22 to 58, this would be a good opportunity.
Not to speak about that, but if you've been keeping up with the food cycler, they are really taking off with other municipalities and stuff too. So it's quite interesting to see. Nice to be on the forefront of it.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point. We're seeing it pop up. It's fun to be a leader on that one. Angie, I saw you pop in. Did you want to make a comment?
I was going to say, yes, South Stormont, I think it's just a colleague of mine just applied to be part of the pilot project at South Stormont. So it looks like they're doing something similar to what we've done.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I did read through the package, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get a unit as well. Definitely for the size of my family, it was probably a bit on the small side. But once we got into a rhythm and a system, we found it worked fairly well. There was some times where we had to run it, twice. Like we couldn't run everything from the day in one go. We had to run it twice. And so we just had to kind of create a system where we had a container with a lid where the next batch would go. And one thing although we have a real property and we do have a compost pile, one thing I've really appreciated is now in the winter, not having to necessarily trudge out to the compost pile. So I would think definitely in our circumstance, like the spring to fall, a compost bin or compost pile works, fairly well. But definitely right now, I'm definitely even more appreciating the food cycler, so that we don't have to go trudge to the compost pile. And we have a rubber bin that's just outside the door where we dump the I don't know, what would you call it? The processed product. And we put everything in it, turkey, chicken, but not we didn't do the beef One comment that I noticed going through the notes is there were several comments about electricity usage, that there were concerns about the electric, and you know, maybe that's something to clarify for the future, but it seemed to me that there's probably some misunderstanding, I think, in terms of energy use and greenhouse gas emissions and methane emissions, which is the bigger issue when it comes to organics, from electricity generation, certainly in Ontario. My understanding is, you know, with us, our base load being so high in nuclear generated power, that we have one of the lowest greenhouse gas emissions electricity in North America. So when it comes to the greenhouse gas emissions associated with the electricity power. Anyway, so that might be something that if we do move forward, that this seems to be something that folks, you know, would like some clear information on. That might be something that we want to delve into a bit more and share a bit more to ensure everyone has the correct information, at least specific to our jurisdiction. Because I guess depending on where how your electricity is generated, it does change the overall balance for sure. Did anyone else get a chance to look at the food cycler comments? Go ahead, Angie.
So yeah, I looked through it and it looked like there was 0 apartment residents in there. Is that correct? We had no anyone in apartments. I just think that would have been great to have feedback from some apartments, or even like residents in like senior assisted homes.
I don't know if I know they did by lottery. I don't know if Crystal, if you would have any further information on if we did have folks in apartments or congregate living.
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually didn't put that criteria down to apply. So really it was open to anyone. And you know, and if the survey results say that no one who lived in an apartment, then it just so happened they must not have applied. And I don't think there's a huge amount of apartments in South Glengarry either, but still, you're right. It would have been really nice to get that data and that feedback to see what the results would be on that. But there might be other larger municipalities who have those results and feedback who may have condos and apartments and things like that in their community.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So probably like at this stage, and it's not necessarily that we have to do it this meeting. We might want to mull these over and think about it for the next meeting, but probably we should, as the Environment Committee, provide some feedback to Council on the food cycler pilot. I'm sure they, you know, if they're going to, I assume they're going to be looking at whether they move forward with it, going to, you know, next phase or a larger rollout. And they would definitely want the Environment Committee, I would expect they would definitely want Environment Committee's feedback on that. So does anyone have any initial thoughts on that? Go ahead, Angie.
The only thing that still concerns me is the not being able to like reuse, or they not as of yet take it back to again full, like it just goes to landfill afterwards. And I'm sure there's lots of plastic. I don't know what it's completely made out of, but I just don't like that these are disposable at this time.
Okay, because I think you asked that right when they presented to us, and I think did they not say that they were looking at having some sort of modular or? Yeah,
they said they had been looking into it. I remember I asked them in another meeting with another municipality, and I forget now, but I was hoping that it's something they could take back. If it's not working anymore, or you just don't want it anymore and you can't give it to somebody else, they'll take it back and they can reuse the parts or something. So there's no waste. I'm just worried if the novelty wears off or somebody moves and they go to the country, they don't need it, and they have no one to give it to, they might just toss it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely something that should be considered in the overall life cycle of the project and of the units.
If I may add a few extra comments
Yeah,
to that point. So in our discussions with them, they noted that for 2022, they're moving towards a larger unit. So the units we trialed were the 2 liters. So they're looking towards making 5 liter units that have a smaller footprint. So they've improved their technology a bit. That will be able to process pits and bones. So like the ones that we trialed weren't able to process bones. So that would be a big improvement. But also they mentioned that in their business model, they're hoping to move away from this, you buy your unit and you have your unit, to more of a service model. So it would be a X number of dollars per week per person. So I think under that model, they would maybe reclaim the unit at the end of the service contract, but that's completely up to them. So Angie, that may be the direction they're moving in.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Colleen or Aidan, do you have any comments on the pilot, or do you have comments on wanting to have more formal discussion about it or make recommendations at a future meeting?
Yeah, I hadn't gotten the chance to read through the notes yet. I'm just looking at a couple there now. I think it would be maybe take some time to mull it over and then discuss future rollout. Would be a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we could have it as a specific item for future. Question to Sarah: is there a timeline or anything like that we would need that we should be aware of, or that we should try to work to if we were going to provide feedback?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, sounds good. Angie, you put your hand up.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Like, if there was a certain time where, like, to give Aiden time to read over it, if there was a deadline that we needed to provide our feedback.
Yeah.
If we should have like a short special meeting for that to discuss, or oh, here's Crystal. She might have my answer.
I just wanted to share that I do get frequently asked when more units are going to be available. So, I think that there are enough people who are interested, who would, participate in maybe a second rollout, but not necessarily just, I don't know if it's something that, like, I think it would be baby steps, so, I mean, just to share that information with you, I do get asked quite frequently when units are going to be available.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's any pressure, it would be just to make it's something that people are interested in the community.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for that. And I mean, there's sort of how it fits into the whole organic strategy, which I know is something else that's like a larger discussion with more moving parts potentially that would be coming. But I mean, to answer your question though, more like Angie, about, I mean, I think it's potentially something that if depending on our agenda load for our next meeting, if we just have it as a specific item and that we know that we're going to, that's one of the objectives to come out of our meeting, that we'll have some, more fulsome recommendations, then I think that could work. I don't know if we necessarily have to have a special meeting, but that could be something like, I think, we sort of average like every 6 weeks or so, maybe if we did it that way. But I'm just floating that idea. It's not necessarily, or the other option is that we just provide written comments into staff as well. But I think it's helpful to have the discussion live.
That works for me.
Colleen? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Colleen,
that
do you have
works.
any
I haven't
comments?
had a chance either to get through the survey. So yeah, a little bit of time to look that through would be good.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's do that then. And also that way, hopefully Mike will have a chance to join us as well, and we can get his feedback as well. Okay, so then the next item is the famous waste composition study.
Yeah.
What's the update on that one?
This is a much shorter update. We received the winter 2021 waste composition data, and I'm going to be completely honest, new in my position, I'm not sure what it's telling me. So I've arranged a meeting with Stewardship Ontario later this week to walk me through what it's saying. And hopefully next meeting, I'll have something useful for you folks.
Yeah, no, it's, I looked, I think I was able to see the, in the past, the raw data, like one of the quarterly Excel spreadsheets of the review. And it is sort of, there's a lot there, and probably having someone interpret the data is probably definitely a helpful thing to get us off on the right foot. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully then that can be something on our next, maybe in 6 weeks when we have our next meeting, that can be something that we can bring back. Okay. The next item then that would move us into new business, which is that the implementation of the new recycling and garbage contract. So over to you again, Sarah.
Thank you. So as everyone knows, on November 29th, we transitioned to our new service provider, E360, who are doing both our garbage and our recycling. So previously we'd had a service provider doing recycling and a separate one doing garbage. We are now offering weekly single stream recycling, which we've gotten excellent feedback from residents on. And we are have recently transitioned towards our bag limits. So are working through that. If any of you are on social media, you're probably aware that we've had a bit of a kerfuffle with our container sizes. So that would be, I think, the #1 feedback that we've gotten from residents is previously the trucks could pick up some of those larger containers. So the greater than 32 gallons with a manipulator arm and check the garbage and, not garbage, sorry, check the recycling in. Our current trucks do not have that arm, and we hosted a waste lunch and learn in mid-December to receive feedback from the public and find out what people were thinking about it and kind of share how this came to be and why it is. And it's generally related to health and safety of the operators. So without that arm, the cans are just too big, and reaching in, well, it seems like a fairly easy solution. You don't know what you're reaching into. It's like reaching into a confined space. So I'd say our 2 biggest feedbacks on the administration side are container sizes. Weekly recycling is good. And then around yard waste, yard waste is unchanged. We still offer our special pickup in May per the collection calendar. However, I believe the previous contractor was picking up yard waste and putting it into our landfill on a weekly basis. So right now, those bags are not being picked up and left behind so that they can be picked up during our special collection and put in the section of our landfill designated for that sort of thing. So container sizes, yard waste, and weekly recycling being 2, anyhow, what I just said. So we've talked about how we hosted that virtual open house. We also circulated a flyer just in advance of the bag limit implementation. It's on the very last page of this package. So page 59 is the flyer that was circulated to all residents, noting that we moved to a 4-bag limit on January 3rd. And from all accounts, we haven't really had that much feedback about the 4-bag limit. When we've been out looking around, people seem to be under the limit. We've sold a few bag tags, so the word is out there. And I think that's my update. If there are any questions, I'm happy to receive them. And if there's anything you'd like me to investigate, just let me know.
Oh, so Angie, you have your hand up? Do I see that correctly?
Yeah, so I've actually not gotten good feedback from the new collectors. And I did attend that webinar, or that lunch and learn. So it wasn't in regards to sizes, it was missed pickups or the collectors not being respectful of people's property when it comes to putting the cans back. Honestly, I miss my old collector. I used to give him a Christmas present because he was very efficient, or whoever they were, and putting the can back as well. But I've heard lots of people in the village, particularly because that's where I see most people of Lancaster, that they were not happy with the service in regards to like them putting the back containers and the picking up the recycling and the garbage the same week. Yes, good feedback for that. But yeah, when it comes to the, I don't know, the how they pick up, how they put back, and missing places, yeah. And now I think I direct them to I think it's the website where you have missed pickups. I could be getting it mixed up with Cornwall, but I think you have that on the website. Yeah, okay. And that seems to help a bit, but I don't know if it's just in the beginning, but it just seems like the person picking up is a bit careless in Bainville in the village of Lancaster. That's the feedback I've gotten from several folks.
Okay, I if I may just respond a little bit. With respect to the missed pickup, some of that is due to new drivers being out on the road, but we were short a truck or an operator through December. So we were running 4 fleet routes with only three fleet on the road, which I think contributed to some of that. So hopefully residents through January have experienced a more positive customer service. So if you hear that, please let us know here. Through January, our call volume has reduced with the four trucks on the road.
Okay, if someone brings it up to me, I'll look from December.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up, Angie. It is really important that we get that feedback and that we understand how things are progressing. I know for myself, looking at, that council made a lot of, we made a lot of effort to ensure that we were going to synchronize garbage and waste, and that pushed us into this time frame. And I think in retro, and when we were talking about this in the summer and planning ahead, I think, and I know COVID is often used as an excuse for very many things, but I think doing the transition, sort of ramping up into another wave of COVID, probably didn't do us any favors. So I think hopefully, like what Sarah's explaining in terms of them being back to their normal size of the fleet, and hopefully with staffing issues for everything stabilizing, hopefully it does continue to get better. But that's why we need the feedback. If it's not getting better, we think that's something definitely we need to hear. One comment, and I just want to make sure that it's very clear, like when it came to organics pickup, there are a lot of folks who would be putting out brown bags of stuff fairly regularly. And it was my understanding that even though they're clearly brown bags and they were leaves, that if they were part of the regular pickup, they were going in the past into landfill. Is that correct, or was I? But so now, now actually we're trying to do better in the sense that we're actually trying to make sure that the yard waste and leaves actually go properly to like an organics sort of segregated stream, at least at the landfill site. Is that correct?
So I might lean on Chris here a bit for how the landfills are set up, but I believe that we have our landfill section, and there is an area where leaf and yard waste goes and brush that's separate. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes, excuse me. Yes, that's correct. We try to keep it separate. The leaves would be a good cover, but not. It's obviously not final cover, but we try to keep it with the brush and the wood and that kind of thing. Sometimes we do get the odd bag that gets in there, but we do try to segregate it.
Mm-hmm. But Chris, if I could follow up, but just so that I'm clear, like in the past, when folks were putting out brown bags of yard waste throughout the year,
Mm-hmm.
that was not those bags that were going in with regular garbage, weekly regular garbage, those wouldn't have been segregated, would they?
No, if it went in with the regular garbage, it usually all gets dumped in one pile.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
the landfill site.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I think that's again maybe one of these kind of misunderstandings, is folks thought that as long as it was in a brown paper bag, regardless of when they put it out, they thought it was going into leaf and yard waste, which isn't the case. But you can bring leaf and yard waste at any point, right, to the landfill?
That's correct.
Right. And there's no charge for that?
No charge for the leaf and yard waste.
Okay. Okay. I have another comment, but did anyone else have a question or comment specific to that?
I have a question for Chris. For drop off at the landfill, there's no charge. It has to be in the paper. I just know someone who puts like a gazillion bags of plastic leaf waste, and I was going to suggest bringing it to landfill for them, but it's in plastic.
Yeah, it comes in plastic. It comes in all forms. I personally like to see the clear bags, at least if it's leafing yard waste. That's just a personal preference.
So it will be accepted if it's in the
Typically,
black
it is.
garbage bag for.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll
Okay,
try to
but
get them to
is-
convert, but I don't think they will.
But so your preference is if they're using a bag, it's clear, but they can also use the brown
Yeah,
bag?
they can use the brown bags, paper bags.
Okay. Okay. On the container size question, is there any, do we see anything changing in the future, or is that sort of where things are, yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that.
At this time, this is how things are. When we investigated other options, or perhaps upgrading our fleet, excuse me,
Mhm.
or adding the manipulator arm, just the way the supply chain is, it would be many months out. So we would be running with what we have for quite some time. Is incredibly expensive also to retrofit. And when we look at the split of our trucks, I don't have it in front of me, but they are optimized for organics pickup in the future, should we go that route. So I think I don't remember if it's an 80-20 or a 70-30 split in the body, since they can each hold 2 commodities. Once we get to organics, should we go that route, that's when we'll see the real benefit of the trucks we have.
Okay. Okay.
And I do.
Mhm.
Oh,
go ahead.
I do have the results from our recycling through last year, if anyone's interested.
Yes, please do share.
Sorry, I forgot about it, and it's so our tonnage, we didn't increase our tonnage in December. We went October was 57 megatons, kilotons. What is this? Megatons. November was 70 kilotons, or sorry, megatons. In December, we dropped to 66, and that is actually a little bit less than our December 2020. However, from talking to a few people, we shouldn't be discouraged, since we're at the very beginning of our weekly recycling, and most places don't experience an uptick until it's been on the ground for a bit. And even as we move to this 4-bag limit, I was led to understand that we might not see an increase in recycling until we get to that 2-bag limit. Since people are we've seen visually that people already had 4 bags and it hasn't really been a transition, but as we do transition down from 4 to 3 to 2, then we'll start seeing more people divert to our recycling program. So I can share these numbers with the committee after this meeting.
Sure, that would be great.
Cornwall's has great recycling numbers since going down to the 2-bag limit.
Sorry, can you say that again, Angie? On my end, it cut out.
Oh, the city of Cornwall has had really good recycling numbers since going down to the 2-bag limit.
Okay, that might be something. That might have been in the presentation that David gave to us.
No, I think that those just came out. He just recently did his numbers for 2021.
No, it was in the
Oh,
presentation there for the previous 4 years or whatever.
For the 20, okay, I was gonna say the 2021 ones I just got. Okay. So maybe
he
it wasn't
definitely
there,
didn't
okay.
have those numbers, but he had some notes about it.
Oh yeah, no, I see that was on in this package at page 11, where they're showing the recycling tonnage starting to go up, but it was just a year-to-date number that he had for us in 2021. Yeah, okay. So that would be great to actually, not to give you more work, Sarah, but maybe if we could also have the Cornwall, that Cornwall year-to-date number, that would be great, because again, this is all, we need data to inform what we're doing. The purpose of these changes is to increase recycling, to reduce what's going to landfill. So we need that data. Any other questions or comments on the one thing I would like to mention, and this came up when council was looking at the at our committee minutes. One of the items was about bag tags and about having one of the comments we'd made back in September was about making sure that the bag tags were widely available at different sites. And I know that right now it's just at the township office, but probably also because there's not so many people needing tags at 4. But I would probably up that. I mean, I'd like to up the comment again that maybe as we do start to go down, that it does make sense then to look again at putting bag tags at other locations that are maybe more, all around the township, not just at the township office. But the other comment was about, providing residents with a certain number of bag tags, sort of on an annual basis, sort of for those special occasions, or also for folks who miss a garbage week, so that they'll be able to use those to sort of even out when they use the service. So that was something that was brought up also out of our minutes last night. Okay. Well, if there aren't any more comments, then we could go on to the landfill updates.
So this Jennifer from WSP is here with us, and I asked her for a small little update, which I consolidated down onto page 20 of the agenda package. And Jennifer, just please jump in if I'm speaking incorrectly. So she's has some preliminary results, and it's good news at the North Lancaster location that suggests that the remaining lifespan is now 7 years, which brings us to the year 2028, which is an improvement from the 2029 survey, which indicated that North Lancaster would be at the end of its lifespan in 2025. So that's a three-year increase. Is that right, Jennifer?
Yes, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. So that was exciting news. And again, preliminary results to be confirmed through the final reporting. But I thought that was, like, put a smile on people's face. The Beaverbrook site, just a reminder, it had an estimated lifespan of 13 years when it was last surveyed last year. And then there were a few supplemental efforts that had been suggested by Jennifer that could help us extend that lifespan a little bit more also. And they're noted in the report.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose if you have any question for Jennifer or I.
Yeah. So when do we get the final report?
Annual reports are due March 31st, and that's when we'll be submitting it to the ministry as well as the township.
Okay.
And the township reviews them before they're finalized, of course.
Right. Okay. And so they alternate, right? We do one year and then the other year?
No, actually what happens is North Lancaster, according to the environmental compliance approval, is required to be have a report written on an annual basis, whereas the Beaverbrook landfill is every 2 years according to its environmental compliance approval.
Okay. All right. I knew there was a difference, but okay. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Well, it's definitely good news that it's a little bit better than what it had been measured in the past. And I guess that's important to note that, it is a somewhat of a dynamic structure, and we do have some influence on how it fills based on how we manage, compact what goes in, manage the cover, manage the face, those sorts of things. So, it's good to know that we have some tools in our toolkit to at least try and manage it a little bit better, get a little bit more out of the life. But I guess it's still 7 and 13 is still, those aren't in landfill terms, those are still pretty short numbers, right? So definitely an indication that we need to keep doing what we're doing in terms of diverting waste out of the landfill. Does anyone else on the committee have any comments about the landfill or anything? No? but definitely, in terms of visiting the sites, if the committee would like to get a chance to go visit, are there windows of time that are better than others? I mean, clearly now is not my preferred idea of going, but what might be something we can plan around?
So Chris and I had spoken a bit about this, and we thought that once the ground was a bit less wet, so late spring might be a good time. Just so we don't trance around in muck, but we're happy to go out whenever.
Okay, but would that be for both, or is it when one is closed, we don't, or can we do both at the same time?
Chris, I think we could do both at the same time.
Yes, we could do both at the same time. Same in one day.
Great. All right, great. All right, so that then would bring us into the 2022 initiatives.
And this one, if there are any suggestions, since this is a pretty sparse list, please feel free to suggest them. But again, the Hazardous Waste Day in September will be continuing. As usual, we will be reducing our bag limits per the schedule from 4 right now to 3 in May, and then 2 next November. And we will be sometime in the next 6 months doing investigations into an organics program. But first we need to understand our garbage tonnage, which will require us to weigh each truck over a week and figure out how much is actually going to the landfill in an average week. So that won't be a January, February, March thing from the administration side, but likely towards the end of that 6-month time frame. And then again,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of the committee being able to comment on, or when feedback might be solicited, this is more probably a early summer then? Is that?
Yeah, early to late summer.
Okay. Okay.
So whenever we have our garbage weight, it'll be our waste contractors who did it. And so we'd like just to have them rolling smoothly before we start diverting them to weigh scales every load.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's because we need those estimates to be able to determine what like the contractual obligation would be. Is that it, or?
That's a good question. That was what we were, whenever we started to talk about organics, that was the first, like step number 1 that people advised us to complete, was understand our tonnage so we know what might go where when we add a percentage in. So I'm just going to stop because I don't have a great answer for you.
Okay, no. But I mean, yeah. I mean, definitely knowing our baseline. I mean, like that sounds like that makes a lot of sense. And I'm happy to hear that that's something that we're looking at, because I think even just like last week when the folks applying for the open council seat did their presentations, more than one referred to organics and what's coming next with organics. And definitely I've had many residents ask about what are we doing next with organics. So yeah, so definitely there's a lot of interest in this, most definitely, and definitely with our reduction in bags as well. I think that makes a lot of sense. Are we, because of the size of our municipality, are we actually mandated to do organics by a certain point, or no?
I'm not sure.
I don't.
50,000.
50,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that sounds about right. As I recall, we probably would end up, and that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. I think, in fact, it's it's good that we continue to look at these things, because if we only do it when we're mandated, sometimes we don't go very far. And did any other folks want to make some comments on these upcoming? Go ahead, Angie.
First of all, what's our population?
13,500.
Oh, it's so little. Okay. And
just talking about stuff funny, Gary, right?
so little. I thought the waterfront would be 13,000. Anyways, we're Sarah, you're still going to have, I'm assuming, outreach in connection with all of these, and continue what Kelly had been doing in regards to keeping educating and having social media stuff. And
yeah, so not on here. I'm hoping to have another virtual open house in late January or likely for early February right now, just to get feedback from residents on how the bag limit reduction is going, and then continue with that every time we drop a bag, and we'll continue to put social media posts out. And I believe we're still working on our website. Crystal, did that get finished, or is our waste website the
Sorry, I have my screen shared, so I'm having a hard time finding my mute button. So yeah, our website is a working document, but we did an update, I believe at the end of November. And yeah, it has a new look and much easier to find things related to garbage and recycling or hazardous waste or leaf and yard waste. So we're open to, if there's anything that you feel we're missing or that you think would be beneficial, please reach out, and we're happy to keep improving our website.
So did you have was there a specific concern or thing you're looking for, Angie?
No, I always have outreach on my mind and education on my mind. So just seeing if there was anything coming up that they were doing. So I know they did quite a bit in the fall leading up to December.
Yeah.
I mean, if I think of stuff, I'll send it your way. I just don't want to copy everything I do at work. Well, I kind of do want to copy it all, send it to us here at Glengarry, but yeah, if I have. What's that?
If it's good stuff, we copy and steal, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they won't mind.
No.
But yeah, I was just curious, curiosity.
Yeah, well, I know we were doing Waste Wednesdays for a bit. Is that something that's continuing?
Yes, it should be.
Okay, awesome. That's great. While we were discussing the future, Angie did send a preview of the numbers through for Cornwall, who they did go down to the 2 bags this past year. And I guess it sounds like their preliminary assessment is that recycling has gone up 22.3%. and that garbage collection has gone down 11.2. So that is that's very interesting. So so hopefully when Sarah gets a chance to touch base with Cornwall, that maybe we can get a little bit more official numbers for them, so to speak. That would be great. So it's good to hear. It's nice to see the encouraging results from them moving forward.
I was just too excited not to share, so I'll leave the rest for Sarah and Dave.
Yeah, we don't want to steal all their thunder,
I just,
right?
Also, too, before I forget, February 18th is Global Recycling Day. I know I was going to forget that, but you want to do something around global recycling.
Oh, I did not know there was a Global Recycling Day. That is definitely.
I'm always looking things up, so.
So that works out to Friday. Actually, one question I want to know is how many, I don't know if you said this, but how many folks participated in the webinar that you hosted? Do you know?
I do not know. Crystal might.
I believe, and I'm going off memory, but I believe we had 16 participants.
Okay.
But I'm going off memory.
Right. No, that's good.
I know it has a high YouTube count.
Yeah, the views on YouTube were much higher than the live event.
Right. Well, I have to admit, I haven't seen it. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet myself. So eventually the view will go up by 1, 2, and I'll be watching it. But yeah, I mean, it's good. I think it's great that you did that and that it's accessible for the future too, if people want to have so a lot of people like that communication style. So that's good. Now there was something else I wanted to ask, but now it's escaped me. Okay, well, so for the future, I guess it's things, unless there's another item, I'm thinking we want to set another date for our next meeting. And I'm guessing that in terms of visiting landfill, it wouldn't be, it would still be, we're still a couple of meetings out from that. So I don't think we need to start nailing that down just yet. Was there anything else that anyone wanted to bring up at this point before we set a date? No. Okay. So it seems like this Tuesday at 5 is working well. So that would put us in beginning of.
Is this time okay for Michael, or is this time okay for Michael?
Well, I think he was the one who originally suggested having it, or you and him, I think, were the ones originally suggesting that it be 5-ish.
I'm open to any time. Doesn't make a difference to me anymore.
So that was my understanding. It's a good question. I mean, we can double check, but that was my understanding, is that he was on board with so that he didn't have the blank time between, so he could kind of get his meetings out of the way. So I think 5 o'clock, how about for the others? Does that still?
Yeah, 5 o'clock still works for me. And I believe Mike was the one who said 5.
Okay, thank you.
5 is good for me too.
Okay, perfect. So in terms of when, are we like March 1st? Does that work for people?
That works for me.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
I'm just waiting for my calendar to load.
No. Okay. So while you're checking that, I mean, in terms of topics, I think definitely we should have the food cycler feedback as a sort of an item that we definitely want to tackle to give some good feedback to council. I think we should probably keep our ear to the ground too when it comes to the rollout of the garbage and the recycling as well. And also the waste composition study data. Those are a few items for sure that I think we'll want to make sure are on the agenda. Any other, I mean, we can, the agenda doesn't have to be solidified now, but just in case there's other items or if there's a speaker or something like that, maybe make sure
would you like a presentation?
Well, I think if we're going to do the food cycler feedback, maybe not. Just okay. Unless, well, I mean, I guess it depends on what you come across, or if anyone else comes across on something.
Maybe it's related to that.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I know that sometimes our meetings go a bit long, or at least that's a feeling I get. So I don't want to make. I think if trying to stick to that hour, I think that works pretty well. So depending on the topic, or if how much questions we think might generate, it might fit, it might not. But I definitely want to make sure we don't shortchange the food cycler on piece. So maybe Crystal and Sarah, like if we go ahead with that on the next agenda, maybe if you could help provide some guiding questions, maybe on how we can how we could provide that feedback, or at least in grouping it maybe in a way that's most useful for staff. Maybe in terms of making it actionable. Okay. All righty. So I don't want to rush us out, but I guess on this one we'll so and did you check your calendar, Angie? Is that okay? March 1st?
Yes, it's March 2nd. That's not good. So yes, March 1st is fine.
Okay, perfect. Great. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time this evening, and we'll see everyone on March 1st. So if I could have someone move to adjourn. Thank you, Colleen. All in favor? This time we'll go all in favor. Apparently you don't need seconding for adjournment. All right, great. Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
And
thanks.
thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Crystal, for your support.
Bye. Bye.